美方对华加征奇高关税，严重违反国际经贸规则，也违背基本的经济规律和常识，完全是单边霸凌、胁迫做法。根据《中华人民共和国关税法》、《中华人民共和国海关法》、《中华人民共和国对外贸易法》等法律法规和国际法基本原则，经国务院批准，自2025年4月12号起，调整对原产于美国的进口商品加征关税措施。
Next steps for China, sir?
Well, we'll see what happens with China. We would love to be able to work a deal. They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off beyond nobody. How people stood for it, sitting in my position, is not even believable. And we're talking about many presidents, not just a couple. But they did, and all we're doing is putting it back in shape. We're resetting the table. And I'm sure that we'll be able to get along very well. I have great respect for President Xi. He's been, in a true sense, he's been a friend of mine for a long period of time. And I think that we'll end up working out something that's very good for both countries. I look forward to it.
Mr. President, China retaliated today by reducing the number of American films that can be shown there. What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things. Yes, please.
Also on China, the Ukrainians say they have evidence that Chinese soldiers have been found fighting for the Russians in Ukraine. Can the US verify this? And if so, what does the US plan on doing to China to counteract that?
We'll look into it, but I think beyond that, we're really looking to get that war stopped. They're losing 2,500 and even more than that young people a week. They're Russian and they're Ukrainian. They're not American, but they're people. And we're seeing if we can get it stopped. And I think we're making progress. I appreciate the ballerina who was released. It was at the request of a very good friend of all of ours, actually. Dana White called me and he said it's the friend or the relationship of one of the fighters for UFC or one of the fighters. And Dana's an incredible guy, and we spoke to President Putin about it, and they made a deal. They released the young ballerina, and she is now out, and that was good, so we appreciate that. We hope that we're going to be able to make a deal relatively soon with Russia and Ukraine to stop the fighting. It's so senseless. It's such a horrible thing. It would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen, and we were given that card. And I think we're going to get it. I think we're going to get it stopped. Got to get going.
The accuses that China is showing a lack of respect.
美方出于一己之私，将关税作为实施极限施压、谋取私利的武器，严重侵犯各国的正当权益，严重违反世界贸易组织的规则，严重损害以规则为基础的多边贸易体制。严重冲击全球经济秩序稳定，这是公然冒天下之大不韪，与整个世界作对。
At the end of the 90 days, will you put those higher tariffs in place, or will you extend?
Well, that's what would happen. I mean, if we can't make the deal that we want to make, or we have to make, or that's good for both parties, it's got to be good for both parties.
You wouldn't.
And then we'd go back to where we were.
You'd go back to the numbers that you announced last week.
I think so.
You wouldn't extend the pause.
No. We'll have to see what happens at that time.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said yesterday you were considering some exceptions for companies. Can you talk about what you're considering? And then also on the reciprocal tariffs, you said they'd be substantially lower. Is the same math formula going to be used, or is that tossed out?
I'm not considering now for any country or company, but it's possible that I would. But I'm not. We don't have that situation right now. People understand where we are, what we're going to do. But it could happen. It's called flexibility. You have to have certain flexibility.
Mr. President, on the 10% tariff, is that a basement? Is that the floor?
It's a baseline.
Can countries negotiate that to bring that down?
It depends on what they're adding. Some countries we have massive deficits with, or they have big surpluses with us, and others it's not that way. So it depends. That's why it's really they're all different. Every country is different. Some have certain advantages that others don't have, and certain things. We have some. China has a surplus of $1 trillion. I mean, the numbers are crazy, and others have basically no surpluses. You know, we have some that are pretty even, but they hurt us in other ways, and we just want to get that taken care of. So it's everyone is a little bit different.
Are you negotiating with the EU as one bloc or individual nations for the tariffs?
We're looking at it as one bloc. They've been very tough, but they were very smart. They were ready to announce retaliation, and then they heard about what we did with respect to China and others, but China, and they said, you know, we're going to hold back a little bit. They decided to hold back. I thought they were very smart. Look, the EU is very smart, but they really have taken advantage of the United States. They were formed for the purpose of taking advantage of the United States. And I don't blame them, and I don't blame China. I don't blame anybody. I blame the people that were sitting at that desk in that other beautiful Oval Office for allowing it to happen. Many presidents I blame. They should have never allowed it to happen. Who would do a deal like this? Who would do it? You've seen it, Elon. I'd look at deals where it's so...
美方对华加征奇高关税，严重违反国际经贸规则，也违背基本的经济规律和常识，完全是单边霸凌、胁迫做法。根据《中华人民共和国关税法》《中华人民共和国海关法》《中华人民共和国对外贸易法》等法律法规和国际法基本原则，经国务院批准，自2025年4月12号起，调整对原产于美国的进口商品加征关税措施，调整国务院关税税则委员会关于调整对原产于美国的进口商品加征关税措施的公告，税委会公告2025年第5号规定的加征关税税率，由84%提高至125%。鉴于在目前关税水平下，美国输华商品已无市场接受可能性。如果美方后续对中国输美商品继续加征关税，中方将不予理会。
It's going to be Liberation Day in America, and it's going to be a day that hopefully you're going to look back in years to come and you're going to say, you know, he was right. This has turned out to be one of the most important days in the history of our country.